Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from Group B. So here we will present our presentation about approach, method, and techniques. But in this meeting, we only focus talk about approach. So before we start about presentation, let me introduce our group. My name is Lola Anggraini as a moderator and also as the speaker one here. And the second speaker is Lia Angelina, and the third speaker is Yanche Aringka, and then the fourth speaker is Nella Charisma, and the last one speaker is Nella Charisma. So I will discuss for the first slide. So I will explain you about approach of teaching English. So what is the definition about approach of teaching English? A set of correlative assumptions dealing with the nature of language teaching and learning. Is it axiomatic? It describes the nature of the subject matter to be taught. So, it refers to the theory about the nature of language and language learning that serve as the nature of practice and principle in language teaching.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Lia Angelina and I am speaker 2. Structural approach. The structural approach is based on the assumption that language teaching can best be done through systematic selection and grading of structures or sentence patterns. It was widely implemented in the United States in the 1915. The basic principle underlying the approach is language is speech, not writing. Methods in language teaching, the first and the most traditional of the three is the structural view. The view that language is a system of structurally related elements for the coding of meaning. The target of language learning is seen to be the mastery of elements of this system, which are generally defined in the term of phonological units, grammatical units, and grammatical operation, and the last lexical items. Structural, functional, or interactional models of language provide the axiom and theoretical framework that might motivate a particular teaching method, such as audiolinguism. But in themselves, they are incomplete and need to be complemented by theories of language learning. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The communicative approach is based on the idea that successful language learning is obtained by communicating its true meaning. When learners engage language in real communication, their natural strategies of language acquisition will be used, and this will enable them to learn to use the language. The communicative approach is the approach used in the classroom in the context of CLT. This approach is in the form of types of class activities that let students to use language such as role plays, interviews, information gaps, games, language exchange, surveys, work, learning while teaching, and so on. Awareness of the principle of communicative language teaching can begin to be seen in the current language setting, where English textbooks have emphasized referring to genre-based. So that is a praise that students about the use of language that they might get in everyday life.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, in this video I want to tell about situational and approach in review. Situational approach and oral approach is a term not commonly used today, but is an approach developed by British applied linguisticians the 1930 until 1960, and which had an impact on language courses which survive in the same style being used today. Situational approach is the basis premise of which is that different situations demand different types of leadership. This approach was developed by Hersey and Blanchard. Oral approach and situational language teaching relied on the structural view of language. Both speech and structure were seen to be the basis of language and especially speaking ability. Okay, we next focus on the integrated skill approach. Okay, integrated skill approach focus on the 4 main English skills like reading, writing, speaking, and listening through a communicative language teaching methodology.